Show of hands, who watched The Walking Dead all the way through?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's our opening.
That is
question.
dedication.
Hi.
Hey everybody, you here for the Walking Dead?
I fell off.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us at 10:30 on a Friday night.
Get loud.
Making your own
Get loud.
tabletop RPGs. I am really happy to be here as the moderator. My name is Richard Ray, and I'm the creator of, I use he, him pronouns. I'm the creator of Moonlight on Roseville Beach, Sherwood, and My Chivalric Bromance, among other games. And I am just going to pass it over to John Boyle to introduce
Hey, I'm John Boyle. I am the bard half of Breitbard Games. I write all of our fun, funky little tabletop RPGs. We're known for titles such as Kobolds and Trenchcoats, Axolotl with a Gun, and most recently Trash to Treasure. We have games in kind of two varieties, like weird, esoteric role-playing games where you go outside, touch grass, and then tell a story about it. And then the other variety is be a little guy, fight God.
Yeah. And John, you popcorn too.
Who do you want to go next?
Not the other half, right?
Not the other half. Me?
Yeah.
God. This is what happens when you talk out loud. Hi, my name's Wes Franks. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a self-published TTRPG creator. I also work with Plus One EXP. I am the Zine fiend. So if you like zines and you like them every month to come right to your door, I got you. We can talk afterwards. And then also, I'm also one of the writers on The Between, which funded on BackerKit this year. And then my campaign setting, Unsinkable, will be released with it. If you want to solve mysteries on an ocean liner on the turn of the century, and it's not that ocean liner. It's a different one. Much sexier and sadder than the other one. But yeah, that's me, and I'm stoked. Thanks for having me, Richard. And I'm gonna popcorn it all the way down to the end of the table.
All right, hey everybody. This will come as a shock, but I am also a tabletop game designer. My name is Justin Kahler. I've made games like Beamswords and Bazookas and Kunai Academy. And I'm very excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for coming out to learn about making games.
Now you have to choose between Bree and Viditya. Yeah.
Oh, you gotta pass it over.
Oh yeah, we'll go back the other way.
Oh, hi. Okay. Hi. I'm the only maybe one that doesn't write games here, but I do the world building, and I'm an indie tabletop artist.
Mm-hmm.
I help doing all of the design work and illustration work for all of the zine work you see. And making the games pretty as hell. So that's what I do. My pronouns are she, her, and at the end of the panel, if anyone wants a sticker, come and see me. I have a bunch.
Yeah, awesome.
And
I
that
guess
leaves,
that's me,
yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Viditya Voleti. I use he, him pronouns. I am also a tabletop designer, indie tabletop designer. I make my own games. I publish my own stuff like Bloodbeam Badlands and The Land Wants Magic, which you can play a lot of these games that you've heard on Games on Demand tomorrow, 2 p.m. But then I've also worked with publishers and worked on games up and down the tabletop industry with Paizo for Pathfinder and Roanoke and Deckard for Spire and Evil Hat for various other stuff. So yeah, I make games. Oh, I'm also a teacher. I'm also an educator of games. Which is another thing that I do. Shout out to my students! Woo! Yeah!
Also, don't you have a zine jam going on right now?
I do have a zine jam going on right now. Speaking of zines, we love zine making. I'm running a game jam called Tiny Worlds. It's making micro settings, and it's you have an 8-page limit, and we have an additional challenge to make that a single sheet 8-page zine. It's really fun. Just make it a little setting.
Itch.io.
Yep, I'm writing that down too.
Tiny World. It's so much fun. It ends on the 31st. Mm-hmm. I still have to make mine. Ah!
Yeah.
You made 2, right? No, just the one.
I made the one, but you can find mine and 2 other people's on QR codes on the doors of the LARP groups.
Fuck you.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Scan random QR codes.
So we have. So that is we're gonna ask you to help us remember that when people give us questions during this panel, remind us to repeat the question. For instance, if Silviana were to ask a very simple question like,
what's your favorite indie TTRPG?
Y'all would know that Silviana asked a question and you would yell out,
What's the question?
To remind me that it's being recorded and no one can hear you, and otherwise we're just going to jump into answering a question that has no context for anybody listening to the recording. All right, so we're going to talk for about 20, 30 minutes and then leave the rest of the panel. I say that knowing that, like, this group, yeah.
We're talking 45 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to talk for as long as I can. We're going to try to corral this group, but I'll do my best. We are going to talk for a little bit. We want to reserve a lot of time just to hear what your questions are. So we're going to jump into some of ours first because I think these are a good sort of frame for a little bit about what we want to talk about. TTRPGs, I'm a huge fan of TTRPG history. Were born in saddle-stitched 8.5 by 11 paper folded over. That was how D&D first came out. That was how Traveler first came out. That was how all the famous RPGs of the 70s first came out. We eventually got to where very fancy, and we started folding over 11 by 17 paper. But that was a step forward for us. But we've always had this tight relationship with small format books that you might not know from looking at sort of the overwhelming number of very large books on the shelves of game stores now. So my question to you guys, because I don't have to answer this, is why should we keep why should we keep making these small, tight, saddle-stitch books or digital versions of small, tight, saddle-stitch books? I can call on somebody.
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to ask a question also, and it's kind of like redundant or not, whatever. But like, does everybody know what a zine is? There's three different differences. There's the art movement. There's the thing that it is, and then there's like a type of like thing that you're putting out there. It's the art movement. It's the actual thing that you're doing, and like of making like a zine, a small magazine. And then there is, I wrote this down. I'm so sorry. The third one. It's like the Three Musketeers. You remember all of them except for the last one. I have it right here.
It's
D'Artagnan.
Verizian, Terrakian,
Dang.
Cobalia.
Porthos.
Hey.
Zine. So there's zine, capital Z, zine, lowercase z, and then apostrophe zine. So you got the three types here. Well, actually, yeah. Let me.
I should have known these.
My goodness.
Yeah. So you've got the art movement, which is like capital Z of like people putting stuff into zines and putting them out there. Then you have the actual zine, which is apostrophe Z-I-N-E. And then you have finally, goodness gracious, right here. Then the aesthetic, like the 90s punk. Let me put a bunch of stuff onto a paper and then photocopy it on pink paper, and it looks like a Sex Pistols like album cover. Those are three different things. A zine. It's not a zine. It's a zine. That's the GIF thing. It is a zine. If somebody says zine, then calmly correct them. But
I laugh and I point
You're
at
not a
shame.
sign fine.
Yeah, I think one
Sorry.
huge advantage of publishing a zine is that there is a cool factor to it. And I think that they've always been kind of cool. They still are cool, I think, and it almost feels like they became trendy and that coolness should have kind of waned, like it should have fallen out of trend. But thinking about it for this panel, I think it's always going to be the medium for independent artists, and I think it always has been. It's just always like the easiest way to get something out, and whether that's, art zines, like people making zines about their creative writing on campuses, or punk zines, riot girl zines, like it's always going to be the small independent artists making them, and I think that's why it stays cool, because Wizards of the Coast is not going to be making a zine, right? Like they're just not going to do it. And yeah, so like it kind of stays cool, and you can do a lot with that translates a lot better, especially with the graphic design. You can do a lot of like rough, collage-y, like interesting graphic design that like it's just gonna translate so much better in a zine than it will in like a professional bound published book. Like it just, yeah, there's a ton of benefit there, I think.
I was talking to Daniel Kwan yesterday of Asians Represent podcast, and we were both talking about the fact that like once you get to this page size, creativity about layout just seems to go out the window for companies. Like you just don't, creativity on visuals, creativity on layout, everything's become so just kind of plain text.
Two column with a textured background.
Yeah. 2 column with textured background, or 2 column with bad textured background, like White Wolf in the early aughts.
A spot illustration, poorly.
Impossible in this case. Yeah. Sorry. Moving over.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, also speaking to form factor, like, I think one of the things that for us was really important early on is like we wanted people to be able to like print it out and play it at home because we weren't sure whether or not we were going to print it or like if early on even we were going to be publishing it formally. So the notion that somebody could come to our itch page, look at the game and be like, oh, I have a printer at home, I can run off Kobolds and Trenchcoats right now. And like that's everything that I need to play right here. Or if it's a zine in particular, like all I have to do is print it off, fold it, staple it, and now I have a book that somebody else wrote and I have made in my house, and now it exists, it's real. That's very, very easy to do with a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper and a printer at home.
I think that I'll add to this also. I think in like a similar vein is to me I think like a zine is, so like we work in books and words, right? So like to me a zine feels like such a great like sketch, or it's this like a book, a printed book, a bound book, a hardcover, like a perfect bound or whatever feels like such a final product. But like a zine to me is like this nice excuse to just be like the first step into holding your thing as an object. So it's like thinking about game design and book design as like an art form is the zine is the sketch, or it's the it's the first draft. It's the your sketchbook of just a bunch of different little games and stuff that you've made to like get them out of, and like we make digital games and release a lot of PDFs, and then there's like, to me I feel like it's like releasing something as a PDF feels like it exists kind of as a game, but in a very different, in a place that kind of doesn't belong traditionally. It does. I love digital games. A lot of my games are digital, but it's like we are technically we're a history of print medium, and then so to like print something out, fold it over, staple it, or stitch it, and then you're like, oh, fuck, this is real. This is like a real little thing. And then like you can take it the step further if you want, but it's, I feel like this really beautiful step in understanding and making your craft.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, like every zine that you get feels like an artifact, right? Like if you buy a book, it just kind of like feels like something you could always replace. But a zine, you kind of know that was probably a limited run. It was probably folded by a person, probably the person that made it. Like it's probably something that you might want to tuck away and like treasure, because you're probably never going to be able to get that again. Maybe, but good chance it's not.
Anything else we want to jump on, or?
I mean, I think in terms of like art as well, like thinking of it as an art piece and an artifact, like it allows it. The reason that it works so well in the TTRPG space as well as in the art scene is because you can use both of those like skills at the same time. Because like it's all, TTRPGs are just about telling stories, and zines in the art space is also just about telling your story. And so like it's really easy to like transfer the skills, especially in like the art way, because you can, it's both like precious and unprecious. It tells like a moment in time of someone's creative timestamp and life. And I think that works really well with like indie TTRPG specifically, because we do a lot of work to make them like good, but we don't like, we're like, having it be a zine lets perfectionism go out the window, I think.
So this is so just to add on to that, and this is very much inspired by a question Viditya and I get when we talk about this at a little more local panels, is people frequently come to us and like, zine's cool and all, but I have this idea for like a new RPG with a whole world, and it's going to be, and for a first-time creator, why is a big book a bad idea? We're not here to tell you no on most things, but I feel like for a first-time creator, why is a big book a rough idea? And by big book, I literally mean
A big book?
an 8.5 by 11 or A4 if you're printing in the UK or Canada. Page size with hard binding and all that other stuff. I don't just mean like, oh, bigger than a zine, but why are big books a rough idea for new creators?
Can I do a quick rant?
Yeah, please.
Go for it.
Go for it.
So,
Get in there.
I'm writing about this because I literally was talking to my students about this about 2 hours ago. Like game design, especially if you're a new designer, like if you're a first-time designer, the first thing that you make is going to be not going to be the best thing that you make. And the whole thing, and I think, I don't know, I feel like we don't really talk about games in the same kind of language and ecosystem that we talk about, and just process that we talk about as like any other form of art. But it's like you will get better with every time you make it, right? It's like you are going to make something, the first time you make something should not be your magnum opus, because it will not be. It won't. The next thing you make will be better than the last, and the next one after that is going to be better than that. And you got to keep moving forward and stuff. So it's like to just expedite that process, make little things, make proof of concepts, make little zines. I mean, really, the whole thing is like you just got to make a lot of bad to make good. Make bad games and make as many bad games as you can as quick as possible, because you'll eventually be like, oh shit, wait, fuck, this was like really good actually. And so it's like, yeah, like making small, and don't go for like the big thing, because you might also get like, and other people could probably talk about this a little bit more, but like you can also get bogged down in like the production of it, which is like not the important thing to learn in that moment. It's like you just want to like get the idea down, get playing as quick as possible, hold it in your hand, make it a reality. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. More.
Do you mind if I jump in? Because I've got.
Go for it. Go
So,
for it.
Please.
nobody here is a multimillionaire, and if you are, we can talk afterwards. I can have a great conversation with you outside about a lot of investments you can make. But, I had an example. I had somebody come to me for Zine Club. What we do is we take first time and up and coming designers, and then some established people we like to pair with up and coming designers and everything. So it's a really good way to get people running out of the gate and then designing, and hopefully that person has somebody knocking on their door and hiring them. I had a guy come in and he said, I have this great idea for a game. It uses blackjack as a mechanic. It's a Weird West game. And I'm like, cool. And it's like quick drawing, and it's supposed to play quick and everything like that. And he's like, great. I have my own setting and everything like that. And I'm like, great. How many pages? We do zines. He said, 300 pages. And I said, no. But I also said, with this, we give about like a $600 budget that we're able to work with, because we're a company and money is money and things are expensive. And paper and ink and like packaging and putting like time and energy into like getting other people to do it or do it yourself, that's all expensive. And big books need glue, they need color ink, they need lamination, they need cardboard for your cover, they need to have like graphic design because you need a spot. It goes on and on and on. Bree is an artist. Bree, how much are your rates for art?
They should be higher.
They should.
But generally, I go about like $20 an hour is usually what I charge, especially in the indie scene, because no one has the money.
Yeah.
And I want to make the product, and I want to be helpful, and I want to do it the best that I can with the budget that I have. But yeah, it's about $20 an hour, and certain things take longer than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Bree is a very talented artist, and Bree is a very kind and generous artist. You need to raise your rates to about $28 an hour. You got to think about inflation. But that does not, like, $20 an hour for like a kind and generous artist that believes in your project does not get you 300 pages worth of like key art and a cover, and you also got to think about layout design and everything like that. A zine, brother, go to Google Docs right now. You got a game. lay it out real quick in Google Docs, print it out in fucking FedEx. I'm sorry, freaking FedEx. And then they got staplers in the FedEx. You can do it for like $20. Like, it's amazing. And then you also charge $5 for those zines, or just hand them out for free, whatever you want to do. And look, return on investment, you've made profit, you made a game, people are playing your game and they're talking about it. Probably, maybe, if they're not, do it again. Like, sorry, that ran over, but it's too much. It's too much to do a big book.
John, I see you going for that mic.
Yeah, well, also, I used to be an English teacher, and one of the things that we talked about in like creative writing is using short fiction or like short stories to kind of like practice individual skills. Like, I want to practice my character dialogue, and so I'm going to write a short story that is almost entirely dialogue. Instead of trying to write an entire novel, which entails a whole bunch of other skills in addition to characters talking to each other. And I think of zines in a similar space when it comes to tabletop RPGs, right? When you make a zine, you can be like, I want to make a game that feels like this to play, and you only have to do that in like 20 pages. Or rather, you only have 20 pages to do that, which means that you kind of have to focus only on the most important things to make the experience that you want your players to have. And so you have to be really, really choosy about the stuff that you focus on when you limit yourself like that. And I think that's a great way to make a lot of stuff that lets you practice a lot of things, because like, you don't really know what you're going to like, or what feels good, or what feels cool, or what your style is as a designer or a writer until you try a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, limitation breeds creativity, and so it's like, you have 300 pages, that's going to be 20 pages of something good, and 280 pages of kind of probably really bad and unnecessary, right? But
yeah, every big RPG has tons of fluff in it. They just do.
Also, I mean, like, on the publishing side of it, like, big publishers are like, well, because I know some of my friends have gotten their games published by like mid to big published companies, and they're like, they started as like really solid zines or like 40-page to maybe 60-page books, so it's like small. But then these big publishers are like, well, we kind of only print minimum 200 pages, and so like friends of mine are like, well, I got to put in a bunch of nonsense. It's like, really, they're like, my game is a tight 20 pages.
Yeah.
All right, what can we do? Kind of thing, right?
I think there's a feeling that more pages is more value, but I would so much rather play a game that is focused, and I would so much rather play a game that is like laid out efficiently and has all the information readily available for me. If you're going to try to run a game and you need to keep 300 pages of a book in your head, you're just not going to be able to do it. And yeah, I think that the limitations breed creativity is incredibly, incredibly true. It forces you to focus on your core themes, and it forces you to think about what is the experience I want players to have, and it makes you ensure that that is at the heart of the game. It also forces you to think about efficiency in game design. Like, any shortcuts that you can use to convey the themes and the focus of the game is good. Like, anything that's intuitive, anything that implies meaning quickly, that gets people from not understanding the game to understanding it quicker, is good, and a zine will help you do that.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, you don't have to do it in just 20 pages. Like, typically, like a company like Mixum or something would consider a zine up to like 68 pages with a front and back cover. Typically, you're going to want to look for like multiples of 4, that kind of thing. But like, you've got a lot of room to work with, because like, once you get past 70 pages, that's a book. You're going perfect binding. You can't staple that. That's
you staple it. You got like that awkward little. It doesn't,
Yeah.
It doesn't look
Yeah.
good.
It just
You were not stapling a 68-page. I
No.
know, because I know from
we know from experience. Yeah.
68 pages. You're not stapling at home, but yeah.
Industrial staple.
I'll talk about it real quick. This is a bit of a tangent, but like, I recently came to my own conclusion that I think like 8 pages. This has to do with the jam that I'm running. Is I think 8 pages is the perfect minimum. Because I think like people think for their first RPG they go like, oh, 1-pagers are like a thing and they're really cool and interesting. Actually, I think like that's that's a really skilled level of minimalism in your design that I really like. And then like 4 pages I think is like really the minimum, but I like 8 because then you can make like a single sheet 8-page zine, or 8 gives you time, like a nice room for cover and back cover, and still have like 6 pages of interior. But like that to me is like a nice minimum to start thinking about like your zine. It's also only like 2 pages now, right? Yeah, it's only like 2 pages of printer paper, so it's like really easy to make a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So just a real quick add-on to the whole notion. Some of the, if you're sitting there thinking like, but my idea is 300 pages, some of the coolest projects that are coming out in the next year, some of the most anticipated projects probably over the next 2 years, include Dolmenwood by Necrotic Gnome. And I had another example in my head and I've lost it. But Dolmenwood by Necrotic Gnome is probably one of the most anticipated RPG settings coming out in the next 2 years. That started as a zine series, which was just, it's a hex crawl through a fairy tale forest. And it started with like, hey, there's 10 hexes in every zine. And it's all public domain art. It was ultra cheap to produce, incredibly beautiful. It's super evocative, and now it's becoming one of the biggest. It's one of the big books. So that is definitely a way to start your big books. James West of Black Pudding also sort of founded his whole RPG illustration career on creating those beautiful, evocative little zines that just sort of like pulled together some concepts and things he was doing in his home games. So,
Ico's game, Lost Bay, didn't that start as a zine?
I think so.
Ico, the Lost Bay, if you've heard of it. It's like suburban horror, like it's very cool, especially if you're an OSR head. It's dope.
I guess we could also kind of talk about a lot of games that are built off of like third-party content, where it's like the game itself is pretty small, but then it's a bunch of people making zine size.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like Liminal
Horror,
very specific.
Mothership.
Mothership started as
It's a huge
Zero E,
one.
which is
Just
a
a
little
zine,
tight
yeah.
little. Sorry, you had a question.
I was gonna say our Helsorian with Cyberpunk. Like they have the big book, but everything else, all the supplementals are like they're zines.
Yeah.
They're all magazines, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about like, I mean, this is well before me, but like splat book kind of culture.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a big
Splat
thing
book
that feels
culture.
very
Bring it back.
zine stuff. Yeah, I think about splats. a lot.
Give me my workbooks, my little workbooks of RPGs.
The number of people who signed on to play White Wolf games, not because they wanted to play any White Wolf rule, but because they wanted to play those tight little art, those beautifully produced splat books. And they were like, I just want to play this splat book. And I'm like, I'm not even sure what that means rules-wise, but you're here.
Yeah.
I just own splat. I own splat books.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Shit that I don't even know about.
Yeah. Just because they're cool.
I'm like Dragonstar Advanced Races. Sure, why not? That's some
That
shit.
art looks sick. Brother.
We hit a little bit on what to do if your zine is bad.
Oh.
What to do if your zine is bad is like publish a bad zine.
Publish a bad zine, dog.
Keep making them.
Make
Really,
another
like, if your zine
zine,
is
yeah.
bad, publish it and make a better one.
So how do we qualify what a bad zine is? You know what a bad dog is? You know what a bad drink is?
You know what that day is?
There's no bad dog. There's only misunderstood dogs. I get it, yeah. But what's a bad zine? Is there only misunderstood zines? Is that a question? No?
Yeah.
I would say like, that's, and maybe even like internally, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, this is not where I want it to be, and this is not what I want it to be, or I'm struggling with the limitations, or I'm like my skills. A lot of times I feel like a bad zine is an artist, like a designer, trying to do more than where they're at.
Yeah.
Which again, like I think goes into a lot of like thinking about game design as an artist.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
100%.
this very similar language. I have a background in fine art, so that's why like I think about games like artists. Yeah.
Same.
But,
Sorry.
yeah.
It's great. You don't
But
have
yeah,
to
so it's
apologize.
like, a bad scene is like could be internal is how I think about it. And then, make another one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just in the art thing is like, it's I was just gonna piggyback off thing is like in the art world, you're always like what you have is never done. It's just do.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna be happy about it. If you're not happy about it, oh well. Are you gonna stop making? Are you gonna stop creating? Is that gonna be the barrier to you having your voice out there? No. If you make a bad painting, you'll make another one, and maybe someone will really like your bad painting, or you'll die and everyone will like your really bad painting. Like that happens a lot.
You could always angle for that. That
happens
is-
a lot. But also, like, there's always, no matter what it is, there's going to be an audience for what you create. Especially in the TTRPGs world, especially in the zine world, because everyone wants the weird little thing. People love, it's like, oh, that's so weird. I want to try it. And whether or not the mechanics are good, as long as someone has fun playing your game, I don't think it's bad.
That's a win. That's a win.
It's a win no matter what.
I got bad games on my itch right now, but you know what? There's at least 5 people that bought them and like them. They talk to me about all the time. And then you know what I tell them? Thank you very kindly. That's very nice.
Yeah.
I used to always hear about actors who like wouldn't watch themselves in movies, and I couldn't really understand that until I started like publishing stuff, and then I kind of get it, because like you always interact with that stuff in a critical way, I think, because that's part of game design, is like going through and changing and refining, and you'll always sort of like question decisions that you made. You'll see the paths that you didn't take all the time, right? But you'll always be incredibly proud that you finished it. Like, and that's incredibly important. And every next thing, like you said, is going to be better than the last thing you did. So,
I'm gonna say the dreaded word, and it might start some discourse in here, but like, playtesting, it's something you could do depending on it. Don't do it too much.
no, playtest a lot, as much as you possibly can.
Playtest your game.
My process typically with playtesting is like, I will typically run it myself one time, and then I will have somebody run me through it one time, and then every other time for playtesting, I'm not touching the damn thing. I'm having other people do it if they're very kind enough to do it, or I can pay them to do it. But if they want to, and I'm just sitting in the room, I'm sitting in the C chair in the corner, and I am just taking notes and just watching and just watching. I'm trying to be very. I'm just saying, like with yes, but with playtesting, like you really want to be very not hands-on, but you want to be very observant, and you want to see things that work and things that don't work. And if there's an actionable thing that you can do to change that, make that change. If you are at a point where there is nothing that you can do to make this work, you might have to cut it. And if it's a major thing of your game, shelve it. Go on to the next one. Like, Stephen King has a trunk full of books that he's written, and he just tosses it to his editor, and his editor works their magic on it, and then it goes from there. But like keep a trunk, and just put it away, and then come back.
The way that I think about my own philosophy, and like being a teacher has forced me to like think about, why do I do the things I do? Because you need to do the things that I do. But like, I have a thing called like, I consider how I design called Lego bin design. Is like in my brain I have a bin of Legos. I feel like a lot of us just had like this bin that was a mismatch of all the fucking Legos that we have. And so it's like, that's what games are for me. It's like my game design knowledge is just like, I have a bin of Legos, and each Lego brick is some mechanic or some idea or some thought that I had, and then I'll put it in there, and then, I'll build something with that. And then if I like it, cool, great, that's the thing. But if I didn't like it, then I can just put it back, and it's never gone, right? Or I can use it again. It'll find new context in a game that actually like utilizes it and is good for that mechanic or that idea or that thought. I love it, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're in this room and if you're thinking about making a tabletop RPG, you're probably like us in the sense that you're probably someone who has like a Google Docs folder with tons of ideas for stuff that you might want to make. And I would say the first step to doing that is literally just sit at a table with your friends and play it. Just get it to a point where you can play it with people you like, people you would hang out with anyway and play games with. And it will show you so much. The difference between it sitting in your folder and sitting on a table when you're running it live, that jump is massive. So just take it and put it in front of people. It'll be the first step.
There's really truly an incredible power in good enough.
Yeah.
Like, learning when to do that, like learning when to go, I should put more time into this versus like, well, this is good enough. Like, is I think like a big part of this process that we're talking about of like figuring out how to like analyze your own work. And it's one of those things where you can't really do it until you like finish some stuff and then play it and then look back on it and go like, oh, that Lego don't fit there.
Like, but this other thing that I just had an idea for, because I made these other two things and we playtested those and we were talking about them afterward, like I can put it over here now. You know, it's like, it's an iterative process, right? Like, and every time you make a new thing or you read a new thing or you play a new thing, like you add a few Legos to your bin of mismatched things for you to play with.
Get you an accountability buddy as well. Find somebody that is like your harshest critic, your most opinionated friend, the one that has an opinion about everything. And then if you're like, I think it's done, but I don't know, hand it off to them, let them read it. If they tell you it's done, it's done. Put it down, it's done. I literally have been hired to be that person. I have literally had money put in my hands because somebody just said, I need a final pass on this. And I read over it and I said, here's some notes. And it was 1 or 2 notes. And I said, it's done. And they said, thank you. And they paid me. And you know what? Sometimes that's great. I didn't feel too great about it, but honestly, I understand it as a person that needs that. Like, yeah.
I hired Wes as a beta reader once, and then I changed everything after Wes said it was done. But that's you being a creative person.
I have one quick thing about playtesting that kind of has a lot to do with what we're talking about. Is I think we're talking about iterative process of design, getting better as you keep going. I think for me is after a certain point, like I'm really a big playtester. I really like it, but also there's like parts of me as a designer and things that I put in games that I just like know work. So like, because I've played them before, I've put them in other games because I have this list of like this history of work that I've made that I'm like, I know I can make a nice, like these numbers work. I don't need to play test my probability. I just know I like these numbers, they work. That's not what I'm stressed about. Or like, I know I can make an opposed dice pool system. Like, I love making opposed dice pool systems. I can just do it. I don't need to play test if it's fun or not. I know that it's good. What I am interested in is, like, can players grasp the world that I'm trying to get them to play? So, like, when I play test, just because I've made a lot, my mastery has gotten better. And again, I feel like I'm on, like, a kind of a visual design kind of thing. It's like, after a while, you're just like, well, I've drawn hands enough times. I just know how to do that. Like I'm confident enough in this element of myself. And games, like any other kind of skill, you build that mastery and then you just get better at, and you don't need to playtest. You can put something out there for money because you just know it's good.
Yeah, there was a moment in the second bigger game that I made where I realized I was solving problems that I had already solved a time before. And yeah, there are certain skills that you build as you just do it more, you become more familiar.
I wanted to chime in because I think that there's always the temptation to put your best foot forward when you play test for strangers, and that's if it's a play test and they know it's a play test and they signed on for it to be a play test, you don't have to put your best foot forward in front of them. It's not going to do you any good to like go through a character creation system when you know you nail character creation systems every time. I say that as somebody who's always like, please look at my character creation system, ain't it great?
And it's always great.
But it's always great, and I need to like show my combat mechanics because they suck. I haven't been in a fight since junior high, and I have no idea how that works.
So don't push them.
Or do push me. I fall over really
Maybe he's the perfect person.
Bully Richard.
Not for money. What I'd really love to do, though, is we have a bunch of notes for things we can talk about. I'd much rather like talk to you guys about what you're curious about. We all have experience with everything from like getting things to print, making things by hand. Some people have better experience making things by hand than I do. Digital publication, crowdfunding, working with partnerships. We'd much rather know what you want to talk about for where you are right now. So I think it's time for some audience questions. If y'all feel up to audience questions, otherwise I can ask people some. I can call on people. You there first.
So, how would you suggest going about finding somebody to print your first zine? Like, if I can't do it at home, I've got a whole bunch of other things that need to get done, and I want someone else to print it for me. Where's a good place to start looking?
I have some answers that I'll throw at you, but
Question, Richard.
Y'all are so good at that. We are essentially like where to print your zines if you can't, don't want to do them yourself at home. They're all of those either can't or don't want to are both valid. And I have some questions, but I have some answers to. I have some specific companies to point you towards, but I'd rather hear what other people have to say before.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Like physically print, like are you like where can I make books online and they can ship to me, or who am I like can I talk to to publish my game?
I didn't think about that difference.
Okay.
I guess if
I got you on the second part.
Yeah,
of that.
that's what I was
so
gonna
I'll let
say.
them handle the first part, and I got you on the second part.
if I wanted to print my first zine,
Mm-hmm.
I guess
How?
another part of the question would be, what would be, in your recommendation, the best place to start is, having someone do a print on demand, make my books and send them to me, or having the other thing that you said.
Yeah.
A publisher?
The publisher. Yeah.
So
yeah.
my suggestion is let's start with POD and print first, because I know working with a publisher or or publishing partner it's kind of a slightly different topic, and I feel just to focus, I think to get you an answer, I think the very first one is where to either print and or do print on demand.
Yeah.
Does that sort of hit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's. I know that several of us are going to bring up Mixam, MIXAM. Their prices are spiking. Everybody's print prices are spiking. What are some MIXAM? They're a lovely company. They work well with lots of us. But where are there things that you're doing besides working with Mixam other than POD?
I mean, we've had to find a different printer other than Mixam because their prices have been spiking, and our company is not super like liquid. We fund ourselves based on crowdfunding most of the time, and then con sales. And so the cheapest option that is still good for us, we have a local printer called Smart Pressed, which is local to us only because they have like a warehouse there, and we can go and drive and pick it up, so we don't even have to pay for shipping costs. So looking into like local print shop stuff in your area, and like other like larger companies like that have warehouses in your area where you can be like, hey, I have this idea that I want to print. What would just shoot them an email, and if they are good at what they do, they'll get back to you. If they're not, then look other places. You'll be surprised by how many like small print shops to mid-size to like full warehouses that are like happy to kind of figure anything out for you. Money is money, and they'll do whatever. But it also depends on what budget you have as well. Because if it's just like, I just want to do this as a little bit, and you don't want to do it at home, that's also completely possible. And I would also like talk to like local libraries and stuff and see what their recommendations would be as well. Because they work with a lot of people that make their own stuff.
Yeah. Anything else people want to bring up?
Print Ninja is one that's been tossed around as an alternative to Mixam. So that's like very much depending on what you're trying to do, they might be able to get it done for you cheaper, but just as well.
Yeah.
It just depends. It's your shopping, your window shopping on that end.
Yeah.
One quick note about print shopping is print shops tend to reach, other than Mixam, which outsources to other print shops really aggressively, which just essentially will just call up your local printer and say like, hey, we just got an order that we can't fill.
Yeah.
Other print shops will just reach capacity, and frequently they're not responding to your email, not because they don't like you but they are at capacity, and that means everybody is slammed. And your request is no one likes writing you back to say like, we're at capacity right now, try us another time. But that's a reality. Print Ninja used to be primarily a Chinese print buyer. They were a U.S. company that would buy print for you in China after you sent them your work. They have moved to having their own print shop in Chicago, and they are relatively new with that print shop in Chicago, and they are really aggressively trying to undercut Mixam right now. So now is a great time to get Print Ninja to give you really low rates. But yeah, you're shopping just like everybody said.
Yeah.
You're shopping. You're trying to see who can do it.
Yeah.
POD, though, was the second part of that question, and I know Justin works a lot on POD, so.
Yeah, you can do print on demand. I would actually maybe approach my next game a little differently. I think I do prefer the control of doing your own print run if you can do it. And you know, there's certain licensing, you know, some of the bigger companies have, you know, you sign an agreement to say you can only sell it through their shop, which kind of limits you in some ways. So if I were going to do another one today, I would probably just shop around for my own print run and go to the same sources that these guys are talking about.
Quick note on Drive-Thru-RPG, they can be lovely to work with. Never sign an all titles exclusivity agreement, no matter who offers it to you. Like an individual title exclusivity agreement with a print partner or a publisher or something like that is one thing. Do not sign an all titles exclusivity agreement, which is what Drive-Thru-RPG asked for the premium rate, which is only 5% more royalty cut than what they give everybody else. So don't do an all titles exclusivity agreement. And also the contract requires you to have like 60 to 90 days to exit the exclusivity agreement.
Yeah.
So don't sign that line. It will seem very tempting, but it's only 5 cents on a dollar that you're getting out of them.
A quick note on that publisher part thing, and I can talk about it more afterwards and everything like that. There are some companies that make zines and print them for people. Plus One EXP is one of very few. There's not a lot of money. There is a lot of money in this industry. Most of the companies that you know do not have that money. There are like 1 or 2 companies that have all that money in the TTRPG sphere. You can change that. Sorry. But like there are some places, like we do a zine club. I get pitches online. I get pitches at conventions. I get pitches from people on the street, and they say, I have this game idea. And I'm like, okay, it needs to have a theme. It needs to have like interesting mechanics. It can't just be a dungeon and a guy in a dungeon and then going through the dungeon and everything like that, because we have so many games like that. I want but that's the thing, is when you're talking to publishers, they're looking for something specific. And if you don't have that, then they're going to pass on you. And that's just like the nature of the business as it is right now. An alternative to that, though, is I know you probably have some friends, and you have a friend that can do art, and you have a friend that's really good with money, and you have a friend that's really good with writing, and you have a friend that has connections because his dad owns a print shop. And what you can do is you can form a cooperative, and then you go together and you join together in the binds of workers, and that's it. But like, honestly, like find people around you, though. Like honestly, like find people around you, like. We are in a time where you are going to have to rely on your community and the people around you to take care of each other. So you need to start finding people that have similar interests. And if you want to go further and do things like this, honestly, if you want to be able to to get your head into the door, or your foot into the door, or anything like that, do it yourself. DIY. It's punk as fuck. Do it yourself. Yeah. And that means like from the bottom rungs all the way to the top. Like, yeah.
100%. I'm sorry, that's exactly what happened to us. So I was just like, he wrote stuff, I did art, and we're like, honestly, let's make this a feature and not a bug. Let's do this together and do our best and work together and try our best to make it. And we've pretty much printed all our stuff, either ourselves at home or through Mixam or SmartPress or things like that, and we do everything based on crowdfunding and using that money to build other zines and blah 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 blah. But it's not as hard as you think to be DIY. It just requires a lot more attention than you probably, if you have a day job, it's a lot more attention than that's a lot.
Communication. It's like any relationship in this world. Communication and holding each other accountable, and you can do it.
Yeah. It's also not hard to start.
Printing quotes are a volatile thing. Just because a company gave you an outrageous quote 3 months ago, get a quote from them on the next project 3 months later, because they may change dramatically.
They just lost some money on a wedding invitation that they had a divorce, and so they had to cancel that order. And
so always requote when you have a new project. Don't go like, oh, they gave me a bad quote last time. Get that quote again. You're shopping again. They will have discounts. They will have an overstock of certain paper supply. Those are all great. Those are all get a requote.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate too, real quick, like finding people who are interested in the same things that you are in terms of creating games is also one of the most valuable things you can do. And don't assume that your current friends are gonna come along for the ride and be as into the things that you're into. Like, go out and seek people who are already where you are. Find them in spaces like this place, find them in your local game store, find them online, just like find them if you can. It'll be so valuable.
I had an interest meeting about forming a co-op within the tabletop industry, and we had 23 people show up. And you know how many people followed up afterwards? 4. 4. Always account for less. That's another. Write that down.
I think we had 2 questions
I'll
back here,
ask
but
you
I
again.
see your
I'll ask
hand
you later.
first,
Yeah.
so I'm going to go with that one.
Yes.
Yeah, you there in the black hoodie.
No, there's a guy behind you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I started writing a novel, and then I also recently started DMing our D&D campaign. And my beautiful wife here had the idea that I should maybe turn the novel that I'm writing into a campaign for our friends that I do at D&D. How do I go about how do I take this concept of this book that I'm writing and turn it into a TTRPG?
Oh, that's that's really big. The question is the question is how do you take a larger project you're writing, like a novel, and sort of shape that into a tabletop RPG? So.
I have an immediate thing. Become a lot less precious of the thing that you're writing. Because I think like the medium that is role-playing games is collaboration and storytelling. So being open to, like, I say, like, you know, if you have like a world, think about that world and allow players to inhabit it and make changes to it and like have agency within it. If you have characters that you really like, I will say there's a lot of really interesting role-playing games that are, what's the term I'm looking for? Like a cast? There's a term for this, but it's like, it's like
Troop style play?
Troop style
Yeah.
play, where like you take on the role of a character, but again, you give them a role, you give them a character, but then again, you need to be very okay that they're going to go in a direction that you did not write and you did not plan. There's this beautiful term in this concept called the fruitful void, and that is what I think RPGs are all about, is the fruitful void. I just said it again. It's you know, like you want to leave gaps in your world, in your mechanics, in your everything that players will find joy in and fill with the things that they want to do. And I think that's like, I don't know, there's a lot of like IP-based role-playing games, and some are good, some are bad. And I think, like, to me, the one big thing is the ones that are bad are precious. They're like, you have to play. I have not read The Walking Dead, the RPG. We talked about it at the very beginning, but it's like, it's like, yeah, like this has to follow exactly what happens, and like we can't do anything to destroy our beautiful IP. And then there are good ones, like Jesus Christ.
The Silt Verses. If you're a fan of the podcast, Silt Verses, somebody that wrote on it is sitting right there. But if you're a fan of the podcast, Silt Verses is an RPG that's based on the Silt Verses. You play custodians. It's one of the best, in my opinion, in universe, like licensed IP games.
Yeah.
That's just mine.
So
I think one thing is between your fiction, your set in stone fiction, and your game, have a time remove that's meaningful for your setting. That could be 100 years, it could be 5 years, but always some sort of time remove so that your campaign is either history for your fiction or that your fiction is history for your campaign. Don't try to like do the thing where like you're trying to play Star Trek in the Star Trek universe on the Enterprise. Because that's just like, we can't touch anything. Set them apart and let them. That helps, I think, with not being too precious with like your own setting.
Let your players murder your darlings.
Yeah.
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 Can't do it yourself.
They'll be there again at somebody else's table.
One of my good friends in game design like describes the fruitful void that you were talking about like as creating like axes. So like to use one of his games as an example, there's Mall Kids, which is a game about being teens in a mall.
Kids.
And like in that game, your axes are mall, kid, and then this is the space in which everybody operates, right? And so then you create these axes for your hopeful players to exist in, and then throw in like just a scattering of points in there where you're like, yeah, I guess one of the things that could go wrong is probably your boss. And so like now that's a point inside, probably over here on the mall end, but there could be like, oh, also there's a new game that came out today, but you're scheduled for that. So like that's gonna be a problem over here on kid, right? And so you kind of, you create these kind of big titled axes and a big space in the middle, and then that's where like they get to go in and connect the dots. That's kind of, I love that analogy that he gave me.
Yeah,
One last question. I'm sorry to cut you off, Justin, but we have 5 minutes. So we have 5 minutes of one last question from right there.
Sandra.
So, my question is more of an artistic than like a practical one. I really like it when zines or any kind of RPG book has little illustrations in them, especially if those illustrations are relevant to whatever is being discussed on the page. But the more page space you dedicate to pictures, less you have for words, and more pages fit all the words. So, how do you like to balance that?
So, okay, so the question was, how do you balance words and pictures on the pages of RPGs, basically. So that, depending on the size of your team, can be, it's a layout problem more so than it is an art problem. And layout is all about like having someone be able to read and not have your eyes just completely glaze over the page. And I think it really, how important the picture is really depends on what is the words on the page. So like if the word is like, if the words are like, hey, we are in this space, and it has this thing and this thing and this thing, you can put like a list on a side and the rest of it can be this picture, and you can just think about the picture and then not even like really realize that you're reading a list. I think for me, the best places to put art is when there's so many like lists or like of mechanics or things, because it's like, yeah, these are important things for you to know, but it's so much better for me to show you than for you to read it, because reading it's boring. Everyone buys books because there's pretty art on it these days. So it really, I think, will depend. Like, if the words are really, really important, you're also going to want to have, like, specific layouts, like cool bolds or different fonts or different colors, and that's its own whole full, like, lecture in a graphic design hall. But I think in terms of actually balancing it, deciding, like, how impactful you want the words, if the words are actually impactful because they're, like, mechanics and these are the things you need to know, or if it's like, I'm just describing this really cool thing, it'd be so much better for me to just show you it than tell you. And it's more of like, using it to evoke immersiveness in the game rather than like a completely black and white page with no layout at all. It's just like, and you do this, and you do that. And also like, I guess this guy kind of looks cool, but like you have no frame of reference for what that looks like. So it's really more like that. I'm also a huge proponent of graphics, like in taking like board game, like here's how you play this, like these are all the mechanics, and putting that in there too. Because again, most people, if you're reading a thing, you're visually learning. And we learn so much better via pictures than with words. And even when we're reading, we like have this like big, beautiful thing in our mind of like the novel we're reading and this big, beautiful world, but it's just words on the page. And how much better would it be if there was like an illustration or like those illustrated versions of like Harry Potter books or Tolkien novels, and you're like, oh my God, that's what my favorite character looks like. So it's like making sure that you leave space to tell rather than like to show rather than tell is my huge thing. And how you decide to do that is really up to you and how important you think the words are versus showing someone something that could easily just be like, this is a picture of a cool thing, rather than here's all of my really intense prose. Yeah.
It is time to wrap. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm going to ask my panelists to sign out, not with their social media handles, because we all have business cards and y'all can ask for us.
Not me.
Y'all can ask for us.
New ones.
Your one sentence best bit of advice that no one told you, or that everybody told you, whatever, you know.
Get you a game daddy like Richard Dwayne. I mean, really, no. Richard was there when I first started getting into games. He invited me into games. He showed me some games that really inspired my design, and also just like created a community where lots of people hung out and played games, and a lot of those people made games. So honestly, again, find people.
It's really not on me. But,
Also,
yeah.
what's your name? Justin. No.
Oh, yeah. Who are you?
My name's Richard Royne. I'm Justin Kahler. And thank you guys so much.
Viditya.
I think I'll just say it again, but it's like make bad games. I think just be okay making the bad game. Keep moving forward, right? That's the big thing for me.
My one is.
And my name is Viditya.
Yeah. I'm Richard Wayne, and my one piece of advice is always just iterate. Just keep going, get it out there, change it, republish it.
Please be there for somebody else once you become established. Please be there for somebody else.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people that I know in my life that are very nice people, but when it comes to like being like a potential, you don't have to be a mentor to somebody. You don't have to be the daddy to somebody, but like do like be there to like help somebody get a leg up, just a foot up, just a rung up or something like that. Because there's too many times where people just cut the rope behind them and they keep going. It's not done. There's people behind you because there's somebody that helped you up. So, pass it on. Oh, God. Not God. My name's Wes Franks. If you want to talk more, we can talk out in the hall or someplace else, and I'll tell you more about the stuff that I do. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm John Boyle, and I think my piece of advice is just like make something that's good enough. Don't strive to make the perfect thing. Make something that's good enough, play it, keep making stuff.
I think my piece of advice is something that it's such a daunting thing to hear. Like, it's about who you know, but it's also something that's like, it strives you to try to create community. Like, you're not gonna meet people, you're not gonna know people until you try. Like, no one starts from knowing someone unless, you're really rich or you were born into this industry, and not a lot of people are. So it's really just go up and be like earnest and just be like, hey, I want this. How can I like connect with you in a way that is meaningful? Very similar to Wes's thing. Like, if you make that connection, don't like say, peace, sorry, I was just using you as a stepping stone, because everyone talks and they know who did that. So yeah, it's about who you know, but choose your community wisely and be open to knowing more people.
Who are you?
My name is Bree. I'm an artist. And if you want to talk more about art stuff or anything like that, also feel free to come and talk to me after the panel. Or if you want stickers.
We're also running games the entire
true,
weekend at Games on Demand.
Games on Demand, 2 o'clock tomorrow in the D&D area, and we're done.
And we're
Great work, everyone. It's time to go fill the peanut butter jar and then gossip.
Fill the peanut butter jar and then gossip. Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, anyone wants business cards or stickers?
Let me see if I have. I probably don't have any business
cards and
cards.
stickers?
I didn't bring mine. I didn't print them either.
But Wes and I work together, so if you really want to talk to Wes, just let me know.
Just, yeah.
If you find, this is the thing I do, but if you find me at any point,
Yeah, here you go.
I'll give you another punch,
Yeah,
and
sorry.
then you get a cheat code.
That's us as a unit.
I didn't bring our +1 business.
I didn't bring them either.
I don't want to self-promote too
Yes.
much, but
Hold on.
Let's talk about a cooperative. though. That was just like a thing that I dropped in a Discord server. Let's talk about a cooperative though, because that's something that got dropped in a Discord server.
Let's move our situation that way.
I don't have any.
We're gonna move out into the out so that other people can get into the room.
that's amazing.
I really want to drop somebody off the stage. Yeah, but I can't.
Work for
What?
I don't want to say free. I do work for
Everyone should get paid for what they do.
Do business cards. I talk to people.
If you find me again,
Especially.
I'll give you a video.
Thank you so much. I didn't bring cards. I'm sorry.
Full-time job.
Yeah, here you go. Take a sticker. Take whatever sticker you want.
I'm gonna take cards. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
I know. I get so. That's my bestseller because of that reason. I'm like,
You
no one
already
has
have
business cards.
You absolutely do.
No, I don't.
Of course, of course.
Are you guys a student?
Yeah. Always interested.
Do you guys still playing that?
Business card sticker. Business card sticker. I'm just gonna give out cat returns because everyone likes them. Business card sticker.
I'm your biggest fan.
Okay,
I'm gonna
I
give
told
it to
you.
someone else and say that I'm you.
No, who did I give a? Oh, I think
Okay,
it was
sorry.
Cecilia.
Here, you can have my black cat.
I was like a Jason loses return.
How's it going, man? Hope you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I did, absolutely. Are any of you doing, there's another panel at 10 o'clock tomorrow that is how to make a zine.
What? No.
Really?
No one here is...
No. We don't know about that.
I think maybe we just didn't know about it, yeah.
Produced this panel, and I just put it out what's happening at
You can choose whatever one, and one of your friends can take one of those too. That's my last business card that I brought with me currently. But if you come on to Games Command tomorrow, I have more.
Yeah, y'all should put the games on demand tomorrow because they're all going to be.
Yeah, we're gonna be running all of our games.
games.
Yeah. And me and John's games are like really simple, easy to pick up and play. So like we can do like multiple sessions like over and over again.
Yeah, like if you show me the game on demand, we'll get you in.
Yeah.
Like there's no, will not turn you away.
Never turn you away. Alright, I still have so many more stickers, but I ran out of business cards that I brought with me too right now. You go. I have many things. I have so many goblins. Would you like a Mer goblin? Would you like a Barbie goblin? Would you like an Asterian goblin? Would you like a Gale goblin or a Ken goblin? I do have an Asterian goblin. Here you go. Yeah, you can. You're very welcome. I also do my own art business, and so these are all my like slightly misprint stickers, and I'm like, free. Thank you. They're all totally valid stickers. They just are like a little bit. The cutter didn't do as good of a job. Exactly. Come down there now.
I guess it should be mine and TTRPG.
A lot of these people
It'll be a
they'll have a
tactical
menu
survivor reminiscent of like Resident Evil.
Whichever one signs up picks, that's the game they're running.
It'll be a rollover and versus.
Did Wes leave?
You want to have an experience and you're not.
Oh, that's that way.
I'm gonna see if this is. I think this is Wes's.
A narrow target is much closer.
Oh my god!
Something.
Most of these games are because they're not.
I'm not starting out with D&D.
Yeah.
I can't do
They
that.
talked about these games. These are short. They're small. You know? Like you're supposed to start late, and there's no expectation. Also, games like indie games that people don't that aren't. There's no expectation that you'll always know. The expectation is that every single person there is going to think of a person that's inspired.
Okay, that sounds cool.
I also took some credit.
I was really inspired by your idea of like a bag. We have a team in one of the hallways, and that's where you'll.
You guys do have something like this going on.
Like, oh, this thing you're thinking is too cool. I want to keep playing this as long as possible. Like, you'll show up at 2, we'll get you there.
And when is it?
It's scheduled for 6. Most of the games are shorter. You have a lot of like 19-minute to 2-hour games. And also, like, there's like the menus you can use that.
I will just be art director.
Yeah, if you're like,
Okay, I was gonna say, I feel like I would get the absolute shortest.
there are some
first things first. Let's get the signal up.
Yep. Should probably set up here. The last few things I did, they had an HDMI cable ready to go. So of course this one doesn't. What the ever-loving...
Oh, there it is.
Oh, good.
It's like I said, though, it's pure vibes here. Love it.
I got you.
That's just everything he told us.
Actually, he told us to read it. I've never seen this before in my life, so I'm going to take my time. Remember these rules here.
While you read it, go ahead and read into the mic. Let me get a volume check back, bro.
Excellent, excellent.
I don't know if I have that many people put in.
Do you want me to go back to booth and get the cooling pad or not?
Cooling pad? Nah, it's probably fine.
Okay, I will prop it slightly on the cable then. Here, coming.
Hello, check, check.
Hi.
This seems pretty good. Oh, you mean like more like this? I'm pretty fucking loud, to be honest. Like just conversationally, you know.
The panel I did earlier today, I thought I was doing a general good volume, and you notice you're back to hear me, so it doesn't have to show.
Yeah, yeah.
And I asked, can you guys hear me? But they couldn't hear me, so they couldn't tell me what they couldn't hear me. So.
I can work this thing if we have to.
Okay, but it should be alright.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so...
That is a short ass cable, so the laptop's gonna have to sit there. Sorry, Dan.
That's fine.
Alright, so we're talking about the initial process, what inspired you to get started, how you got started, process, troubleshooting, development, engine, and then if you want to intersperse that with any samples that you have.
We'll see what we can scrounge up. Maybe maybe we comb through the samples first real quick, like, because I actually don't know what's on this computer. It's funny. I've moved to different computers, and so each computer represents a different stage in the life cycle of this project, so who knows what's on here.
Okay.
Let me brighten the screen because it's...
I should have done this before, honestly, but you know what? Like, when
you've been busy.
Yeah, wait, I've been busy, but there's also like a poison, you know? But it's a good poison. It's the good. When you make a thing and you see someone interact with it for the first time, it's like I'm enraptured. I need to see how this goes, you know?
Absolutely. Oh, we need to do introductions too. Who we are, who the hell we are, and why people should care.
Yeah,
Do you want me to upload the background picture to be your game?
No, I don't give a shit.
Okay. I will move then.
Thanks for the help, though, actually. Okay.
Level check, 1 2 1 2. Level check. That sounds resounding. Hello. It's late. I am full of food and wish to slumber like a bear.
It's fucking late. It's hard out here. Things be difficult.
Me and my group went to this restaurant just down the way where for $64 they just keep bringing you spits of meat to carve for you.
Oh shit, I've seen those.
Just and you just have a little tab out that says keep feeding me until you turn it over. And
it says youtube.com is not a private connect. It's not a protected connection.
The internet connection in here is probably garbage.
Here, let me hook up to my hotspot. I have another hotspot.
If you can't get the hotspot to work, or before that, the internet connection should be your badge number and your
It wasn't
zip code.
working because we're not staff.
You can try mine. It wasn't working earlier, but it wasn't working for anybody. So
My hotspot's up.
I mean, we can always wing it in like MS Paint, you know? Like.
But damn, my hotspot's actually up now.
Oh, okay. Wait.
So just hook up to my hotspot.
Like, there's definitely stuff we can do.
Just hit the button.
You want to take the mouse? I feel like an old man.
Okay. My website's on a shared server and it is getting hammered with all the attention from
You're
the
in
show.
mine, so log into your Zelda account.
It's fine. Hold on. I'm going to try to find something. We're going to try to ignore this title, but